It is very good to have you. Let's start right there. I want to get your reaction. President-elect Trump essentially making this move that would lead to the firing of his own handpicked FBI director, whose term doesn't come to an end until 2027, replacing him with Kash Patel, of course, who served multiple different roles in the first Trump administration. How will you vote on his nomination, and do you think he has enough votes to pass?
I've encouraged President Trump to bring Kash Patel to the table for precisely this reason. Unlike Jake, I understand his resistance to talk about Kash, but I'm more than happy to talk about him. He represents the type of change that we need to see in the FBI. If you think about the failures of background checks that have taken place, how could we have somebody like Colin Kahl, who tweeted out classified information? I went to the FBI myself. They ignored me. Basically, he was confirmed on a party line vote in the U.S. Senate with Kamala Harris breaking the tie to put this person that should not even have a security clearance in the third most powerful position at DOD. You've got Rob Malley. I don't know how he cleared an FBI check. He's now under investigation. His ties to the Iranian influence regime that worked with him and for him. Ariane Talatabi, who is still at the DOD, should never clear an FBI background check. This entire agency needs to be cleaned out. It's not doing its job. And if you look at what happened, the politicization that took place back in 2016, when senior leaders of the FBI collaborated and conspired to try to keep President Trump out of office. And then when he came into office, they put together this fake Russiagate investigation that hindered the Trump administration for the first several years. Look at 2020. Look at what happened there with the fake Hunter Biden story that the FBI leadership worked together with big tech to censor the Hunter Biden laptop that allowed President Biden to basically fool the American public and come into office. There are serious problems at the FBI. The American public knows it. They expect to see sweeping change, and Kash Patel is just the type of person to do it.
Okay, so I hear you saying you are a yes, and yet a lot of folks
Yes.
have raised questions about whether Patel is qualified. President-elect Trump floated the idea of Patel as his deputy FBI director at the end of his first term. His attorney general at the time, Bill Barr, rejected the idea, later writing this in his memoir, quote, Patel had virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency. Senator, how seriously do you take Barr's warnings?
Listen, I think you should have the Biden administration look at itself. What is the qualification of Tony Blinken to become Secretary of State? Well, he organized 51 so-called intelligence experts to put together a fake letter saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. That must have qualified him to be Secretary of State. President Trump is entitled to name his appointees. That is exactly what he's doing, and I'm going to support this appointment. Kash has worked in national security. He's worked at the Department of Justice, and he's somebody that has been willing to uncover the wrongs at the FBI. He's the one that uncovered for the American public what happened with Russiagate. He's the one that can see through the fix here.
So, Senator, you are disregarding what Bill Barr, the former attorney general under Donald Trump, is saying, his warnings that he just doesn't have the experience.
I'm saying there are people that are serving in the current administration that are woefully inexperienced. I think Kash does have relevant experience, particularly when it comes to the mandate the American public has signed of turning these agencies around that have become completely corrupted. Kash has pointed it out. He's probably the best at uncovering what's happened at the FBI, and I look forward to seeing him taking it apart. All
right. Well, let's talk about one of the other big headlines this week, tariffs. President-elect Trump announcing he would impose 25% tariffs against Mexico and Canada, more tariffs against China, the United States' three biggest trading partners. Major companies from Best Buy to Home Depot and Walmart all warning that tariffs could lead to higher prices. So, Senator, I wonder, are you comfortable with these tariffs, even if it does, in fact, lead to higher prices?
Well, Kristen, I think one of the most important things that we have as a nation is our economy. That's the most important, most incredible source of competitive advantage that the United States has. Access to our economy is a privilege. If you think about it, we've made access to this economy a strategic tool ever since World War II. If you think about what happened in Japan and countries in Europe, when those economies were decimated, the United States put in place very favorable terms of trade to get those countries to rebuild their economies, to trade with us rather than trading with communist countries. We have used these tools effectively decade after decade after decade. Right now, the United States has the most open market of any major economy in the world. We need to take a very hard look at countries that don't have our best interest at heart, countries that are allowing our borders to be violated, and use those tariffs as a tool to achieve our ends.
But are you concerned this could lead to a trade war, Senator?
What it needs to lead to is a correction of the behavior that's taking place right now that is letting fentanyl flood into our border, that is allowing people to flood into our country, millions of people, undocumented, illegal people breaking into our country. It needs to stop. And President Trump is going to use every lever at his disposal to do it, and I think it's absolutely appropriate to use tariffs as one of those tools. It's a major tool.
You just heard me talking with Jake Sullivan about the situation that is unfolding in Aleppo and the focus, the question, could Bashar al-Assad actually fall in this moment? How do you see what's unfolding in Syria? Do you see this as a turning point?
I think what we've seen is a major turning point, particularly with respect to Israel's moves against Hezbollah. Again, Israel took these moves against the warnings of the Biden administration. The Biden administration did not want them to take the aggressive steps that they took in Lebanon to deal with Hezbollah. But what we've seen is Hezbollah is basically being decimated. And in the aftermath of that, you've seen Hezbollah's inability to continue to shore up Assad. That's led to this change that's now, as I understand it, Aleppo is now fallen. We may see Assad, on the map very, very soon. I think the situation has completely changed, but it's changed because of the leadership of Israel and their willingness to stand up to Hezbollah.
Let me ask it this way. President-elect Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, had two secret meetings with Bashar al-Assad. In light of these latest developments in Syria, Senator, do those meetings concern you at all, and do you plan to vote to confirm her?
I'm not familiar with the meetings that she's had, and I certainly don't have to agree with every point of every one of President Trump's nominees. But I am here to support them, and I'm here to support the type of dramatic change that's underway. I think what Tulsi represents is a broad tent that President Trump has put in place, bringing together Democrats, bringing together people with different voices. What he's doing is he's reaching out and broadening the party and broadening our reach. He's bringing Tulsi into his cabinet to achieve a specific purpose, and I look forward to supporting that.
But Senator, you're saying you're not familiar with those meetings because they were secret meetings. Do you have questions about those meetings that you want answered before you vote yes?
My only understanding about the meetings is they took place sometime in the past.
But do they concern you, Senator? Do they concern you at all?
I can be concerned about it. I can understand it. I may even disagree with it. But it doesn't mean that I have to vote against or for a given candidate. But I plan to support President Trump's candidates because the American public needs to see dramatic change. And she's the type of candidate that will do that.